Close your eyes for a second and imagine this scenario, because I bet almost everyone watching this has felt it in the pit of their stomach at least once. You've been running the rat race for years. You've sacrificed your weekends, skipped vacations, and worked late nights until your eyes burned. You finally managed to save $10,000. It's your fortress, your security. Now I offer you a deal, a simple coin flip. Heads, I give you another $10,000. You double your life's work in 1 second. Tails, you lose $5,000. Be honest with me, and I want you to tell me in the comments right now. Would you take that bet? If you're like 99% of the population, your stomach just did a somersault. Your brain didn't see the $10,000 gain. It only saw the $5,000 loss. You felt a physical pang of fear. This is the psychology of money in its rawest, most visceral form. You are being controlled by an invisible psychology that is hardwired to keep you safe, but is accidentally keeping you broke. You aren't a coward. You aren't bad at math. You are a victim of a biological glitch that has been running in the background of human consciousness for 100,000 years. I'm Philly. Here, we don't just talk numbers, we perform surgery on the human mind to understand why we stay stuck. If you're tired of being a passenger in your financial life and ready to master the behavioral finance secrets that the 1% use, hit that subscribe button right now. Today, we are debugging the cognitive biases stealing your future. Let's dive in. To understand why you are afraid of the stock market, we have to go back, way back. 100,000 years ago, there was no such thing as investing. There was only surviving. Imagine your ancestor on the African savanna. He finds a small bush with a few berries. It's a gain. It's nice. But then he hears a rustle in the grass. Is it a lion? If he stays to get one more berry and it is a lion, his game is over. He dies. His genes disappear. In nature, the cost of a loss, death, is infinitely higher than the benefit of a gain, a few berries. Evolution didn't care about your financial freedom. It only cared about you not getting eaten. So it gave you a brain that prioritizes not losing over winning by a factor of 2 to 1. This is the core of loss aversion. When you see your portfolio drop by $1,000, your brain doesn't see a temporary market fluctuation. It sees a predator. It floods your body with cortisol. It shuts down your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that understands compound interest, and it turns on your amygdala. It screams, sell, flee, survive. This is why, even if you read all the books on behavioral finance, you still feel that urge to panic when the red candles appear on the screen. It is a 100,000-year-old software trying to run on a 2024 digital economy. It's like trying to play a high-end video game on a calculator. It's not that you're dumb, it's that your hardware is outdated. The late legendary investor Charlie Munger once said, "A lot of people with high IQs are terrible investors because they've got terrible temperaments." What he meant was that they couldn't control their emotions when loss aversion kicked in. Munger understood that the market is a machine designed to transfer money from the active, the fearful, to the patient, the rational. To prove how deep this bias goes, let's look at a famous experiment conducted by Daniel Kahneman. He gave a group of students a simple coffee mug worth about $5. Then he asked, "How much would you sell this for?" The students, now feeling they owned the mug, wanted $7 on average. Then he asked another group of students who didn't have a mug how much they would pay for it. They only offered $2. The moment you own something, whether it's a stock, a house, or even a digital coin, your brain instantly inflates its value because the thought of losing it feels like losing a piece of your identity. Let me ask you a question and be honest with yourself. Have you ever held on to a bad investment, a clunker stock, or even a bad relationship just because you couldn't bear the thought of locking in the loss? You tell yourself it will come back, but deep down, you just don't want to feel the sting of being wrong. Tell me in the comments, what is the one thing you're holding on to right now that you know you should let go of, but your fear won't let you? This is where the financial gurus on TikTok get it wrong. They tell you to avoid risk. I am telling you that in 2024, avoiding risk is the most dangerous thing you can do. By trying to avoid the pain of loss in the market, you are subjecting yourself to a much more insidious loss. The silent tax of inflation. Let's look at the math of the safe person. You have $50,000. You're too scared of the red numbers to invest. You keep it in a high-yield savings account or under your mattress. You feel safe. You check your balance every day and it's still $50,000. You think you've won, but you haven't. At a 5% real inflation rate, in 10 years, your $50,000 only has the buying power of about $30,000. You didn't lose money in a crash, but you lost the equivalent of a brand new car just by sitting still. You are like a person who stays in a burning house because they are afraid they might trip on the stairs if they try to run. The wealthy understand the psychology of money differently. They realize that volatility is not risk. Volatility is the price of admission. Risk is the permanent loss of purchasing power. By trying to avoid the feeling of a loss, you are guaranteeing the reality of a loss. Are you a safe person who is actually in a dangerous position? If you have more than 6 months of expenses sitting in cash, you aren't being prudent. You are actually a slave to avoiding loss. You are paying a 5% annual fear tax to the banks, and they are laughing all the way to their own investments. Loss aversion has a twin brother called the disposition effect. This is the ultimate wealth killer. Imagine you buy 2 stocks. Stock A goes up 20%. Stock B goes down 20%. What do most people do? They sell stock A to lock in the profit because they want to feel the joy of winning. And they hold stock B because they don't want to feel the pain of losing. This is the exact opposite of what you should do. You are cutting your flowers and watering your weeds. The most successful investors, the ones who truly escape the rat race, do the opposite. They realize that a gain is just a potential for more gain, and a loss is a signal that their thesis might be wrong. But your brain doesn't care about your thesis. It cares about its feelings. If you want to build wealth, you have to stop treating your portfolio like a scoreboard for your ego. It is a garden, and in a garden, you have to pull the weeds, even if it hurts your hands, so the flowers have room to grow. Think about your own life. Do you settle for small wins because you're afraid to let them ride and potentially see them dip back down? Are you so afraid of losing your small profit that you're missing out on the 1,000% gain? That is the invisible psychology that keeps the middle class from ever becoming truly wealthy. You cannot delete loss aversion. It's part of your DNA. But you can build a system that makes your DNA irrelevant. Here is your 3-step roadmap to outsmarting your own brain. Step 1. Reframe volatility as a fee. When you go to a movie, you pay $15 for a ticket. You don't call it a loss. You call it the price of admission. When the market goes down 10%, that is not a loss. It is the admission fee you pay for the 10% annual return that the market provides over time. If you aren't willing to pay the fee, you don't get the show. Stop looking for a free lunch. Step 2. The blindfold strategy. The more often you check your account, the more loss aversion you experience. If you check your stocks every day, you will see a loss 50% of the time. If you check once a year, the probability of seeing a loss drops to 25%. If you check once every 10 years, it's near 0%. Delete the app. Stop the doom scrolling of your finances. If your thesis hasn't changed, the price doesn't matter. Step 3. Automate your bravery. You are at your weakest when the market is crashing. You will never be brave enough to buy the dip manually. So set up an automatic investment. Let the machine be brave for you. When the price is down, your automatic transfer buys more shares. You're using math to defeat your own fear. At the start of this video, I promised you a way to understand why you feel paralyzed by the fear of losing money. The secret is this: wealth is not built by people who are fearless. It is built by people who understand that their fear is an antique survival tool that no longer works. When you realize that the knot in your stomach is just a 100,000-year-old biological ghost, it loses its power over you. You can finally stop running the rat race based on fear and start designing a life based on logic. You stop being a victim of your cognitive biases and start being the architect of your financial freedom. Think about the sheer relief of that realization. When the market dips 2%, 5%, or even 20%, the safe person is losing sleep, pacing the room, and questioning their entire worth. But you are looking at the same red numbers and seeing a discount. You are seeing the admission fee being lowered. That is the moment you stop being a servant to your bank account and start being its master. You've successfully moved from the savannah brain to the architect brain. You've closed the survival gap. Statistics show that investors who can simply remain neutral during a crash outperform the active geniuses by over 300% over a 30-year period. It's not about being smarter. It's about being less reactive. You are now part of the 1% who understands the invisible psychology that governs the world. You finally secured your financial freedom from your own biology. But here is the danger. Once the fear of losing is gone, a new emotion takes its place, the hunger for the immediate win. Because once you stop fearing the down, your brain starts craving the up too fast. And that is where the next trap is laid. Mastery over fear doesn't mean mastery over desire. In fact, the peace you feel now is exactly what the system will try to exploit next. But here's the catch. Even if you master your fear of losing money, there is another psychological trap waiting for you. It's a trap that makes you spend your money the moment you see a profit, preventing you from ever reaching the critical mass of wealth. In my previous video on present bias, I explained exactly why your brain prefers a small reward, now over a massive fortune later. If you haven't watched that yet, you are only halfway through your psychological training. Click right here to watch the present bias video and learn how to stop your current self from sabotaging your future self. Don't let the lizard brain win. I'll see you over there.